Secrets of Ancient Astral Alignments and Lost Moons. We look at the night sky and believe it has always been this way. One moon, familiar constellations, a predictable order of celestial movements. But what if this sky is not eternal? What if the heavens above us were once very different, and the monuments of ancient civilizations are silent witnesses to skies we no longer see? From the pyramids of Giza to Stonehenge, from Mayan temples to forgotten stone circles buried in the desert, the alignments are too precise, too intentional, to be dismissed as coincidence. They point to stars, solstices, and lunar phases with astonishing accuracy, yet some of these alignments no longer match the heavens we know. It is as if the architects were recording a celestial order that has since shifted or perhaps vanished altogether. Could they have been mapping lost moons or tracking cosmic events erased from our memory? The ancients lived beneath skies untouched by light pollution, observing with eyes sharpened by survival and ritual. Their lives depended on the heavens. The flood of the Nile, the timing of harvests, the cycles of migration, all were guided by the dance of the moon, sun, and stars. But their records, carved into stone and encoded in myth, suggest they saw more than cycles. They saw anomalies, disruptions, patterns that no longer fit. When we read their myths carefully, we find unsettling echoes, stories of a time before the moon, of multiple moons in the sky, of sudden floods or nights without stars. Across cultures separated by oceans, the same motifs appear, as if humanity once shared a memory of celestial upheaval. Modern science tells us Earth's moon was born from a cataclysm, a collision with a body the size of Mars, called Theia. Fragments coalesced into the moon we know, stabilizing our planet's tilt, shaping tides, and making complex life possible. But even this scientific story suggests something haunting. Our skies have not always been as they are. The moon itself is a relic of destruction, and it is slowly drifting away from us. Could there have been other satellites, temporary companions of Earth now lost? Astronomers have already detected mini-moons, small objects briefly captured by our gravity before drifting off into space. If this happens today, why not in the past? Did ancient eyes witness such phenomena and preserve them in story and stone? The question deepens when we realize that alignments are not only functional, but symbolic. The Great Pyramid aligns with Orion's belt, echoing myths of Osiris and resurrection. Stonehenge tracks solstices, tying the rhythms of the sun to cycles of life and death. The Mayans built temples that aligned with Venus, linking the planet's appearance to prophecy and ritual sacrifice. But when alignments fail to match today's sky, we are faced with two options. Either the ancients made mistakes on a massive scale, or they were observing a sky that has changed. Which is more likely, human error repeated across continents, or cosmic events that altered the heavens? This mystery forces us to reconsider the purpose of these monuments. Were they calendars, or were they testimonies? Were they built to guide daily life, or to preserve the memory of something extraordinary? Skies that once existed, moons that no longer shine, stars that no longer rise where they once did? The possibility that they encoded not only cycles but warnings is both unsettling and electrifying. Perhaps they wanted to tell us, the heavens are not fixed, and when they change, life on Earth changes too. And this is where the story becomes urgent. Because if the sky has changed before, it can change again. Astronomers remind us that planetary orbits shift, that asteroids still threaten Earth, that cosmic events unfold on timescales far larger than human history. We may think we are safe, but the monuments suggest a deeper truth. The ancients knew instability, and they carved into stone the memory of what was lost. Ignoring those messages may leave us blind to the rhythms of a universe that still tests us. So tonight, when you look up and see a single bright moon surrounded by familiar stars, ask yourself, is this the same sky our ancestors saw? Or are we gazing at the afterimage of a cosmic order that has already been rewritten? Perhaps the real secret of ancient astral alignments is not just what they reveal about the past, but what they warn us about the future. If you've stayed with me this far, it means you're not afraid of the questions most people ignore. Subscribe now, not just to a channel but to a journey a search for the truths carved in stone and hidden in the stars. The silent architects of the sky. Across the continents, without ever knowing of one another, ancient civilizations raised monuments that still defy our understanding. They were not random stones or accidental constructions. They were deliberate, precise, and aligned, not only with the land, but with the heavens. These silent architects seem to follow a rule we are only beginning to decipher. The sky was their map, their calendar, their scripture. And in the language of stone and shadow, they left us messages about the universe they observed. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza. For thousands of years, it stood as the tallest human-made structure on Earth, and even now its precision humbles modern engineering. Its base is almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions, and its shafts point directly towards stars that ancient Egyptians associated with rebirth and the afterlife. This was not coincidence. It was intention, a cosmic dialogue etched in stone. The pyramid was not simply a tomb, but a machine of alignment, built to mirror Orion's belt, to capture Sirius, to connect the pharaoh's fate with the heavens. Thousands of miles away, without contact or exchange, Stonehenge rose from the earth in England. Its circle of massive stones frames the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset with uncanny accuracy. To the builders, this was more than spectacle. It was survival. The stones told them when to plant and when to harvest, when light would return and when darkness would grow. But they also carried symbolic weight. The dance of the sun across the horizon became a reflection of life, death, and renewal. In Stonehenge, astronomy and spirituality became indistinguishable. Cross the ocean to Mesoamerica, and the Maya carried this obsession to even greater heights. At Chichen Itza, the temple of Kukulkan was designed so that on the equinox, the setting sun casts the shadow of a serpent descending the pyramid steps. The effect lasts only moments, twice a year, but it repeats with mathematical precision. This was no accident of architecture. It was an intentional fusion of myth and astronomy, where the cycle of the heavens was dramatized for all to witness. For the Maya, Venus itself was tracked with obsessive detail, tied to rituals of war and prophecy. Even in the deserts of Egypt and the sands of Nubia, stone circles like Nabta Playa mark the solstices, older than Stonehenge itself. In Malta, megalithic temples align with the rising sun. In Angkor Wat, the towers echo the positions of stars. Again and again, the pattern repeats. Civilizations separated by oceans and centuries, all bending stone toward the heavens. The question that lingers is why? Why would cultures invest unimaginable labor, spanning generations, in aligning structures with stars and moons? Practical explanations, like agriculture and calendar making, only go so far. Yes, these alignments track the seasons, but the precision, the artistry, the consistency across the world suggests something deeper. It was not enough to survive. They wanted to inscribe the heavens into the earth itself, to preserve a record of the sky as they saw it. And here lies the mystery. In some cases, the alignments no longer match. Stars have shifted, constellations have moved, the sky itself has changed. Did these monuments once reflect a celestial order that has been altered by time, by precession, by cosmic events we have forgotten? Or more provocatively, were they designed to capture not the sky we know, but a sky that included elements no longer visible, lost stars or even lost moons? When we stand among these stones today, we feel their weight, but we rarely listen to their silence. Yet silence can speak. The monuments may be telling us that the heavens were not always as stable as we imagine, that the sky we take for granted is only one chapter in a longer cosmic story. That memory itself can be carved into rock, waiting for us to notice. The ancients may have seen themselves as custodians of this memory. They left behind markers that survived floods, earthquakes, and the rise and fall of empires. They could not know us, but they knew someone would come after them. Someone would look up and wonder, and in that act of wonder, their message would live again. The silent architects remind us of something essential, that the sky is not static, and that human beings have always sensed its deeper significance. The question is whether we will continue to dismiss these alignments as curiosities, or finally see them for what they might be: records of a forgotten chapter of the cosmos itself. Myths of the lost moons. If the sky was the canvas upon which ancient civilizations carved their knowledge, then myths were the stories that preserved its shifting patterns. And among these myths lies one of the most haunting possibilities of all: that the Earth we inhabit once had more than the single moon we now see, and that humanity remembers this in fragments of legend scattered across cultures. These tales are not simple fables. They may be echoes of skies that truly look different, of astral bodies lost to time, swallowed by catastrophe, or cast adrift into space. In ancient Greece, there were those who called themselves proselenes, the people before the moon. Their traditions insisted that their ancestors had lived in a world without a lunar companion. To most modern ears, this sounds like metaphor. But why would an entire community define its identity in relation to a time before the moon? Was this a symbolic attempt to describe a primordial age, or a memory, distorted but enduring, of an Earth under a different sky? In Africa, the Zulu tell of a time when the Earth had two suns, when light and darkness alternated in ways we cannot now imagine. Among Native American tribes, stories speak of celestial bodies that appeared and then vanished, leaving the world altered. In Bolivia, the Tiwanaku spoke of catastrophic changes in the heavens that marked the beginning of their civilization. Across these tales runs a common thread. The sky was not stable, and the order we see today is not the order our ancestors always knew. Science, too, whispers that this may not be mere fantasy. The leading theory of the moon's origin, the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that our current moon was born from the collision of Earth with a massive body called Theia billions of years ago. But what of more recent times? Astronomers know that small objects, mini-moons, are still captured temporarily by Earth's gravity before they drift away. Some have orbited us for months or years before vanishing into the void. If such phenomena occur today, might they not have occurred in humanity's distant past, when the skies were observed with a precision and reverence we have since forgotten? Even geological evidence hints at possibilities. Some models suggest that Earth may have once had multiple moons, small companions that either crashed into the main moon, leaving scars we still see as lunar basins, or were lost entirely. Such events would have transformed the night sky. Imagine our ancestors looking upward to see two moons, or watching one slowly fragment and fall to Earth. Such a spectacle would have seared itself into collective memory, retold through generations until it became myth. And then there are the myths of destruction. Flood stories across cultures, from Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical account of Noah, to the tales of Pacific Islanders, all speak of chaos from above, waters rising, the heavens darkening. Some scholars propose that these stories recall cometary impacts or asteroid showers. But what if they also echo the collapse of a celestial companion, a lost moon shattering and raining devastation upon Earth? The overlap of myth and catastrophe is too consistent to dismiss lightly. When ancient temples and monuments align with celestial points that no longer match our current sky, we are left with two interpretations. One is that the builders erred, a conclusion that underestimates the sophistication of cultures that tracked Venus with near-perfect accuracy or predicted eclipses centuries in advance. The other is more unsettling, that the sky itself has shifted, and that the monuments preserve alignments with bodies no longer visible. A temple aligned to a vanished moon would look wrong to us, but perfectly right to those who built it. The myths of lost moons reveal more than forgotten astronomy. They reveal the way humans respond to upheaval. Faced with a changed sky, our ancestors did not simply move on. They enshrined their awe and terror in story, in ritual, in stone. They sought to make sense of the incomprehensible, to bind memory into narrative so that even when the event was forgotten, the lesson would endure. And perhaps that lesson is this: the sky is not immutable, and Earth's place within the cosmos is not as stable as we like to believe. If humanity once lived under different moons, if the heavens have already shifted dramatically, then we must recognize that change is not a possibility but a certainty. What we call permanent may be fleeting. What we assume eternal may already be fading. The ancients, through their myths, may be warning us not to take the night sky for granted. For if the moon itself is a survivor of destruction, then what does that say about the fragility of the cosmic order we depend on? Perhaps the lost moons are not merely relics of a forgotten past, but reminders of a future yet to come. When the sky changed. There are moments in history when the heavens themselves seem to have shifted, when what humanity saw in the night sky no longer matched what had come before. These changes, preserved in chronicles, myths, and monuments, speak to a truth that is both unsettling and undeniable. The cosmos, as experienced from Earth, has never been entirely fixed. To our ancestors, such alterations were not abstract astronomical data. They were events of cosmic magnitude, reshaping calendars, religions, and the very sense of order that bound human societies together. One of the most striking records comes from ancient China. For thousands of years, court astronomers meticulously documented celestial phenomena, believing that the fate of the empire was tied to the heavens. In their annals, we find reports of guest stars that appeared suddenly in the sky, blazing brighter than planets, only to vanish months later. Today, we know these were supernovae, colossal explosions of distant stars. But to those who saw them, they were omens, signals that the sky was unstable, and that cosmic powers were at work beyond human comprehension. The stars themselves could be born or die before their eyes. In Mesoamerica, the Maya and Aztecs built entire cosmologies around cycles of celestial motion. Their priests tracked Venus with uncanny precision, using its risings and settings to predict war and peace, prosperity and famine. Yet even they recorded disruptions. One glyph describes Venus behaving in ways that defied expectation, as though the order of the sky had shifted. To them, these anomalies were not random. They were cosmic resets, signs that the current world age was nearing its end. Their myths of successive suns, worlds that had risen and fallen before ours, reflect this belief that the sky had changed before and would change again. The Mediterranean world also carried echoes of disruption. Ancient Greek philosophers like Anaxagoras and Xenophanes speculated on the mutability of the heavens, suggesting that stars might not be eternal, but subject to birth and decay. Later, historians like Pliny recorded accounts of stars that wander and celestial objects that appeared and disappeared unexpectedly. To us, these may point to nova events, rogue comets, or even planetary bodies briefly glimpsed and then lost. To them, they were reminders that the cosmos was alive, volatile, and capable of transformation. Even the orientation of Earth itself seems to have reinforced this perception. Precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, alters the background stars against which the sun and planets move. Over millennia, this means that the constellations that rise with the equinox or solstice shift gradually, and the pole star changes its identity. For the builders of Stonehenge or the pyramids of Egypt, the sky looked different than it does for us today. Their monuments align with celestial points that no longer match, a silent record of the shifting heavens. To those who relied on these alignments, the change would not have seemed gradual. It would have been a disruption of cosmic order itself. Myths of catastrophe often tie directly into these perceived shifts. Flood narratives, fire from the sky tales, and stories of suns extinguished or reborn may encode memories of real astronomical events, impacts, comets, or atmospheric phenomena caused by volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sky. The eruption of Thera, for example, not only devastated the Minoan civilization but likely inspired myths of a world plunged into darkness, of skies that no longer followed their ordained course. The memory of a changed sky became part of cultural identity, a reminder that human destiny was bound to forces far beyond control. Modern science confirms that the sky does indeed change in ways both subtle and dramatic. The positions of stars shift due to their motion through the galaxy. Moons are captured and released. Comets arrive from the outer reaches of the solar system, altering the sky for brief but spectacular visits. Even our own moon drifts slowly away from Earth, meaning that ancient observers saw it slightly larger in the sky than we do today. Each of these changes, imperceptible to us in daily life, is cumulative, and to those who looked with more reverence, perhaps more noticeable than we assume. But perhaps the most haunting possibility is that some of the changes were sudden and catastrophic. a lost moon colliding with the Earth or the larger moon, a planetary body passing close enough to alter tides, climates, and orbits, a comet shattering in the atmosphere. To the people who witnessed such events, the heavens themselves would have seemed unstable, rewriting the rules of existence. Their response was not to dismiss, but to encode, to pass on the memory in myth, ritual, and architecture, ensuring that future generations would know the sky can change. If we consider these records together, ancient annals, myths of catastrophe, monuments misaligned, they form a chorus of warning. They tell us that the order we take for granted, the night sky we see as eternal, is anything but permanent. The cosmos is in motion, and Earth's place within it is subject to forces we only partially understand. To deny this is to ignore the whispers of history, written not only in stone but in the stars themselves. And so we are left with the same question our ancestors must have asked when the heavens shifted above them. What does it mean for us? If the sky has changed before, it will change again. The only unknown is when and how ready we will be when it does. The forgotten calendar of the stars. For ancient civilizations, the sky was more than a canvas of lights. It was a clock, a calendar, and a map of destiny. To look upward was to read time itself, to measure cycles that governed planting and harvest, war and peace, birth and death. Yet scattered across the ruins of temples and monuments, we find evidence of calendars so precise, so intricately tied to the stars, that they suggest a forgotten mastery of cosmic rhythms. These lost systems reveal a profound truth. For our ancestors, the heavens were not distant. They were the foundation of meaning. In Egypt, the heliacal rising of Sirius, when the star first became visible at dawn after months of absence, was more than an astronomical curiosity. It marked the flooding of the Nile, the lifeblood of the kingdom. Priests watched for this event with unwavering attention, knowing that it heralded abundance or famine. Over centuries, they developed a stellar calendar of astonishing accuracy, one that would guide not only agriculture, but also rituals and statecraft. To them, the star was a divine messenger, embedding celestial cycles into the very fabric of society. The Maya took this concept further, creating interlocking calendars that wove solar, lunar, and planetary cycles into a grand cosmic order. Their 260-day ritual calendar and 365-day solar calendar were synchronized to create longer cycles that could predict eclipses, planetary conjunctions, and even societal events. Inscriptions on their monuments show that they saw history itself as cyclical, repeating patterns tied to the stars. Time was not linear progress, but eternal return, guided by celestial rhythms that humanity could only interpret, never alter. Across the Pacific, Polynesian navigators used star calendars not just for timekeeping, but for survival. Without written language or modern instruments, they memorized the rising and setting of hundreds of stars, aligning them with ocean swells and bird migrations. These calendars were not abstract records. They were embodied in chants, songs, and rituals transmitted orally across generations. Through them, entire voyages across thousands of miles of open ocean became possible. To lose this calendar was to lose the thread of life itself. Even in Europe, remnants of forgotten star calendars persist. Stonehenge, Karnak, and Newgrange are more than monuments. They are observatories. Their alignments mark solstices and equinoxes with precision that rivals modern instruments. At Newgrange in Ireland, for example, the rising sun on the winter solstice illuminates a narrow passage deep within the mound, a moment of cosmic theater designed to bind the human world to celestial time. These alignments suggest that ancient peoples not only tracked the skies, but also embedded their cycles into sacred architecture, ensuring that time itself became part of the landscape. Yet what is most intriguing is how many of these calendars seem to converge on cycles larger than human lifespans. The precession of the equinoxes, a slow wobble of Earth's axis over 26,000 years, appears encoded in myths and monuments across cultures. The Hindu concept of yugas, the Maya long count, and the Platonic great year all point to vast spans of time measured not in decades or centuries but in millennia. How could ancient peoples without telescopes or modern science have detected such cycles? Was it observation passed down across countless generations, or the fragment of a knowledge older than we assume, preserved in myth until it could no longer be fully understood. These forgotten calendars also reveal something about human psychology. To live by the stars is to accept that time is cyclical, that civilizations rise and fall as predictably as the sun and moon. This view contrasts with our modern belief in progress, in the idea that history marches forward in a straight line. The ancients seemed to understand that stability is an illusion, that the cosmos teaches renewal through cycles of destruction and rebirth. By aligning their lives with the stars, they were aligning with a truth we often resist. That change is not the exception, but the rule. But why did these star calendars fade into obscurity? The answer lies partly in conquest and forgetting. Empires rose and imposed new systems of time, erasing or suppressing older traditions. The Julian and Gregorian calendars, products of Imperial Rome and the Catholic Church, gradually replaced indigenous systems with a standardized framework divorced from celestial cycles. What was once sacred became secular. What was once cosmic became bureaucratic. In this transition, humanity lost not only knowledge but also a sense of belonging to the cosmos. The disappearance of these calendars may also have been deliberate. If time itself is power, then controlling the calendar means controlling the narrative of reality. To dictate when festivals occur, when taxes are due, when wars begin, is to shape society according to human authority rather than cosmic rhythm. In this sense, the loss of the stellar calendars marks a profound shift, from living in resonance with the stars to living under the rule of human-made systems. Yet the echoes remain. Farmers still watch the moon to guide planting. Festivals like Easter and Ramadan still follow lunar cycles. Astronomers and seekers alike continue to search the skies for patterns that speak to something larger. The forgotten calendars are not entirely gone. They are waiting, hidden in ruins, myths, and traditions, for us to look upward once more. And perhaps that is the true lesson. If the stars once served as our calendar, they can again. By rediscovering the rhythms written across the sky, we may remember that we are not isolated actors in a chaotic universe, but participants in a vast cosmic cycle. Time is not just measured, it is experienced, felt in the alignment of heaven and earth. To forget that is to lose our place in the story. To remember is to reclaim it. The vanished moons of Earth. We are taught to think of the moon as a constant presence, the silent companion of Earth, forever guiding tides, stabilizing our axis, and illuminating our nights. But what if this lunar companionship has not always been so stable, so singular? What if Earth has not only had one moon, but several? Moons that rose, shaped our world, and then disappeared without leaving anything more than faint scars and forgotten myths. The notion of vanished moons is not merely poetic speculation. It is a hypothesis supported by clues hidden in the geology of our planet, in the orbits of celestial debris, and in the ancient stories passed down across civilizations. Consider first the formation of the moon we know. The leading scientific model, the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that billions of years ago, a Mars-sized body collided with Earth, ejecting molten debris into orbit that coalesced into the moon. But this cataclysm may not have been a singular event. Some scientists propose that in the aftermath of such collisions, Earth could have temporarily captured smaller moons, companions that orbited for thousands or even millions of years before eventually crashing back into Earth or being ejected into space. Each of these lost moons would have briefly shaped our tides, our rotation, and perhaps even the rhythm of early life. There are traces of these possibilities. Certain layers in Earth's crust show cycles of tidal patterns that suggest irregular influences, as if the pull of the oceans once responded to more than one lunar body. Even today, astronomers identify objects known as quasi-moons, asteroids caught in temporary resonance with Earth's orbit, mimicking a lunar companionship before eventually drifting away. These phenomena demonstrate that moons are not permanent fixtures. They come and go, orbit and depart, leaving faint whispers in the record of planetary history. But science is not the only place where vanished moons appear. Across mythologies, there are curious references to times when the sky was lit differently. The Zulu people of southern Africa tell of an age before the moon, when the world was in chaos until two brothers brought the moon into the sky. Ancient Chinese texts describe cosmic dragons and heavenly bodies being devoured or replaced, events that some interpret as echoes of celestial changes observed by early sky watchers. In the Americas, the Inca associated eclipses with the moon being consumed, hinting at a memory of instability in the night sky. Are these simply metaphors, or fragments of oral traditions encoding observations of skies not quite like the ones we see today? Geology itself may carry further hints. The mysterious mare, the dark plains on the moon's surface, suggest massive impacts that could have occurred in a time of multiple moons orbiting Earth, colliding or being drawn into one another. Some researchers even speculate that our current moon may be the last survivor of an earlier system of smaller satellites. In this light, the moon's quiet face, scarred with craters, is less a constant companion and more the battered survivor of a violent lineage. The possibility of vanished moons also forces us to reconsider the role of the moon in Earth's habitability. Without a stabilizing satellite, Earth's axial tilt could have wobbled chaotically, leading to extreme climate variations. If earlier moons existed, they may have provided temporary stabilization before vanishing, creating cycles of chaos and balance that shape the evolutionary trajectory of life. Perhaps the rhythms of extinction and renewal, so deeply embedded in our planet's history, were influenced not only by Earth's own dynamics, but also by celestial companions long forgotten. There is another dimension to consider: the speculative link between vanished moons and lost civilizations. If ancient humanity observed different skies with multiple moons or changes in lunar presence, how would that have shaped their cosmology? What if myths of twin suns, darkened skies, or celestial battles are not pure imagination, but veiled memories of skies transformed by vanished moons? Göbekli Tepe, Stonehenge, and other ancient observatories may not only have tracked solstices and equinoxes, but also irregularities in lunar cycles that no longer exist. In their alignments, perhaps, lie faint records of moons we have lost. Modern astronomy has shown us that multiple moons are common across the solar system. Mars has 2, Jupiter and Saturn have dozens, and Neptune's Triton may once have been an independent body captured later. Why then should Earth be the exception? The fact that we have only one moon today may not reflect a timeless truth, but a temporary phase in a long sequence of cosmic companionships. If moons come and go, then our familiar lunar presence is not permanent. It is simply the latest chapter in an ongoing story. The idea of vanished moons also carries a haunting reminder about impermanence. We look at the moon and see stability, but perhaps we are looking at the lone survivor of a system of siblings erased by time. Our nights feel eternal, yet they may be fleeting in the vast scale of cosmic history. One day, even this moon may drift away as Earth's rotation slows and tidal interactions push it farther into space. Far in the future, the night sky could once again be without its silver guardian, returning Earth to an age of darkness lit only by stars. And so, the vanished moons of Earth are more than scientific curiosities or mythic speculation. They are a reminder that nothing, not even the sky we take for granted, is fixed forever. They suggest that our world has lived through skies different from the one we know, skies that civilizations long before us may have witnessed with awe and dread. The moon we see each night may not be the only one Earth has known, nor the last it will ever know. It is a fragile, temporary thread in the endless weave of celestial change. A thread we are fortunate to share, but one that carries with it the echo of those moons that came before, and the whisper of those yet to come. Celestial maps and the legacy of forgotten astronomies. Long before telescopes, satellites, or mathematical models, human beings raised their eyes to the sky and began to draw. They etched the heavens into stone, carved constellations onto bones, and aligned massive stones with the rising and setting of celestial bodies. These ancient celestial maps are more than primitive attempts at navigation or agriculture. They are windows into a worldview where the sky was both a calendar and a scripture, where stars and moons guided not only the seasons, but the very meaning of existence. Consider the star maps of Lascaux, painted over 17,000 years ago inside caves in France. Amid depictions of animals and hunters, researchers have found patterns that align with constellations like Taurus and the Pleiades. These are not random dots. They suggest that early humans were already charting the night sky, recording stellar cycles that would repeat predictably across generations. If so, then astronomy did not begin with civilizations like Egypt or Mesopotamia. It began in the deep recesses of prehistory with people who understood that the heavens held secrets worth preserving. As cultures developed, so did the sophistication of their celestial records. The Babylonians meticulously documented planetary movements on clay tablets, crafting what may be the first predictive astronomical models. The Mayans built observatories like El Caracol at Chichen Itza, where windows aligned with Venus's path across the horizon. For them, Venus was not only a bright object in the sky, but a force woven into their rituals, wars, and agricultural cycles. These alignments reveal a startling truth. Ancient people were not passive observers of the heavens. They built their lives, their societies, and their monuments as extensions of the cosmos itself. Stonehenge, perhaps the most famous of these monuments, encodes solstices and lunar standstills in its massive stones. But less known is Nabta Playa, a stone circle in the Nubian desert of Egypt, dating back over 7,000 years. Its alignments to the summer solstice and Orion's belt suggest that even in early Neolithic Africa, people were charting celestial rhythms with precision. Similarly, in the Americas, the Chaco Canyon structures align with lunar cycles spanning 18.6 years, showing an astronomical patience that transcended individual lifetimes. These alignments were not decorative. They were deliberate, precise, and purposeful. Evidence of a relationship with the sky that was both scientific and spiritual. But here lies the mystery. Many of these alignments are more precise than we might expect from cultures without advanced instruments. How did the builders of Göbekli Tepe, thousands of years before formal writing, manage to orient their pillars to celestial events with uncanny accuracy? How did the Dogon people of Mali preserve knowledge of Sirius's binary star system, information supposedly beyond naked eye observation, long before modern astronomy confirmed it? Are these coincidences, or do they hint at forgotten traditions of knowledge, fragments of a deeper understanding of the cosmos that was lost in the collapse of ancient civilizations? Celestial maps also carried mythological weight. The Greeks saw stories written in the constellations: Orion the hunter, Andromeda chained to the rock, Perseus saving her with the head of Medusa. These myths were not merely entertainment. They were mnemonic devices, allowing generations to remember star patterns and their seasonal positions. In China, the sky was divided into regions mirroring imperial authority on Earth, the celestial bureaucracy reflecting human hierarchy. For the Polynesians, star maps were woven into navigation chants, enabling them to cross vast oceans guided only by the heavens. Each of these systems is a reminder that astronomy was never separate from human meaning-making. The stars were both maps and mirrors. The loss of some of these traditions is as striking as their survival. Many ancient astronomical texts were destroyed in wars, colonization, or deliberate erasure. The Library of Alexandria, if it held even fragments of earlier star records, was incinerated, along with centuries of accumulated knowledge. Yet scattered remnants remain: Mayan codices, Egyptian temple alignments, Vedic hymns, and Sumerian tablets, all fragments of a grand puzzle that suggests humanity once possessed a more unified, integrated relationship with the cosmos. What emerges from this tapestry is a pattern. Civilizations repeatedly turned to the sky for guidance, often encoding their most sacred architecture with astronomical precision. Why? Perhaps because the sky represented permanence in a world of impermanence. Empires rose and fell, landscapes shifted, but the stars returned each night, reliable and eternal. To align a temple with the heavens was to anchor human existence to something larger, to participate in a cosmic rhythm that transcended mortality. Yet these celestial maps may also conceal deeper questions. Were ancient observers recording only what they saw, or were they attempting to preserve knowledge of skies that looked different from today? Precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, changes the position of stars over millennia. This means some alignments that seem symbolic today may have been functional in the past, pointing to constellations that no longer occupy those positions. Could it be that some monuments encode memories of vanished skies, of star patterns lost to time, of moons or celestial phenomena no longer visible? If so, then the stones we walk among are not only maps of the heavens, they are time capsules of forgotten skies. In the end, these celestial maps remind us that ancient astronomies were not primitive curiosities. They were complex, deliberate systems that blended science, myth, and survival. They challenge us to rethink the linear story of progress, to wonder if we are rediscovering knowledge that was already known, in different forms long ago. And they urge us to see the night sky not as a backdrop to human history, but as the stage upon which history itself unfolds. The hidden frequencies of the heavens. The universe speaks, though not always in the language of light. For most of human history, we looked at the night sky with our eyes, mapping stars, tracing patterns, and measuring their cycles. But light is only one thread in the fabric of cosmic communication. Beyond the visible, the heavens hum with hidden frequencies, radio waves, gravitational ripples, and cosmic background echoes that reveal dimensions of reality our ancestors could never have imagined. And yet, the more we listen, the more it feels as though ancient myths and alignments might have been attempts to describe, in symbolic form, these very frequencies that science is only now beginning to detect. Radio astronomy opened this invisible cosmos in the 20th century. In 1932, Carl Jansky accidentally discovered radio waves coming from the Milky Way. What seemed at first like static on an antenna turned out to be the voice of the galaxy itself. Since then, we have uncovered pulsars, rotating neutron stars that emit beams of radio energy like celestial lighthouses, so precise that their timing rivals atomic clocks. These signals raise a haunting question. What if civilizations long before us somehow sensed these rhythms, not through technology, but through resonance with natural cycles, vibrations, or patterns they embedded in their myths and monuments? Gravitational waves are another hidden frequency, ripples in space-time itself caused by the collision of massive objects like black holes or neutron stars. First predicted by Einstein, and finally detected in 2015, these waves confirm that the universe is not static, but trembling with cosmic events. To us, they require sophisticated detectors like LIGO to register. But imagine cultures attuned to subtle patterns in nature, earthquakes, tides, atmospheric changes, interpreting these as echoes of heavenly movements. Could some ancient rituals, which spoke of the trembling of the heavens or the music of the spheres, be mythic reflections of phenomena we now measure with lasers and mirrors? Even the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, is a frequency, a relic radiation that fills all of space, carrying the memory of creation itself. Invisible to our eyes, it whispers a story, 13.8 billion years old. The ancients could not have known of photons cooled to mere degrees above absolute zero, yet they told stories of primordial fires, of cosmic eggs cracking, of light born in darkness. These myths may not be literal accounts, but they suggest a human intuition that existence itself carries an ancient echo, one that modern instruments have only just begun to decipher. There is also a biological resonance in how we perceive frequencies. Sound, rhythm, and vibration have always been central to human culture. Drums mimicking thunder, chants echoing heartbeat patterns, instruments designed to replicate the harmonics of wind and water. Could it be that ancient rituals of sound were, in their own way, an attempt to align with the hidden frequencies of the cosmos? The Pythagoreans spoke of the music of the spheres, a harmony produced by the motion of celestial bodies. Today, astrophysicists translate frequencies from stars and planets into audible soundscapes, and astonishingly, they resemble music. What was once metaphor now resonates as literal truth. This leads to the question of communication. For decades, scientists have scanned the sky with SETI, searching for artificial radio signals, a message from other civilizations. Nothing conclusive has been found, but narrowband spikes, unexplained bursts, and fast radio signals hint at mysteries still unsolved. What if the hidden frequencies of the heavens are not only natural phenomena, but also carry artificial patterns? Could some alignments in ancient sites, designed as resonant chambers or amplifiers, have been ways of tuning into the cosmos, perhaps even to voices we no longer hear? the hidden frequencies challenge us to reconsider time itself. Pulsars keep cosmic time with precision unmatched by human devices. Gravitational waves carry records of collisions billions of years old. The microwave background preserves the memory of the universe's birth. These frequencies remind us that the cosmos is not silent. It is filled with clocks, harmonies, and echoes, each marking events far beyond human scale. Our ancestors may not have had antennas, but they had myths, rituals, and architectures that might have embodied an awareness that the universe was not quiet, but alive with rhythm. Perhaps the greatest mystery is why these frequencies affect us so deeply. When we listen to recordings of pulsars or to the sonification of cosmic events, we feel awe, fear, or wonder, emotions that mirror the ancient responses to the sky. It suggests that even though the tools have changed, the essence has not. Humanity has always sensed that the universe has a hidden voice, and now we are finally beginning to hear it. What lies ahead is even more extraordinary. As technology advances, we will detect fainter frequencies, subtler vibrations, whispers from the edge of the observable universe. Each discovery brings us closer to an unsettling possibility, that we are part of a cosmic symphony whose scale we can barely grasp. And within that symphony, Earth is not a soloist, but one note among trillions. In listening to the hidden frequencies of the heavens, we are reminded of something profound. The universe is not indifferent silence. It is a living resonance, a tapestry of vibrations that connect the smallest particle to the largest galaxy. And in tuning ourselves to these frequencies, we are not only observing the cosmos, we are hearing the echo of our own origins, and perhaps the faint signal of futures yet to come. The lost moons of Earth and their forgotten influence. When we look up at the night sky, the moon feels eternal, a constant companion circling Earth since the dawn of time. Yet the history of our satellite may be far stranger than the simple narrative we tell. Evidence suggests that the moon we know might not be Earth's first and perhaps not its only lunar partner. Hidden in the geological record and the dynamics of orbital mechanics are traces of other moons that once orbited our world. Lost moons whose influence shaped the tides, the rotation of the planet, and perhaps even the fate of life itself. To imagine Earth as a place of many moons is to rewrite the story of our cosmic identity. The prevailing theory of the moon's origin, known as the giant impact hypothesis, already begins with violence. According to this model, a Mars-sized body named Theia collided with the young Earth about 4.5 billion years ago. The debris from this cataclysm coalesced into the moon. But computer simulations reveal a twist. Such an event might have produced not one moon, but several. Over time, smaller moons could have merged with the larger one, their remnants absorbed into the single sphere we see today. If that is true, the moon we know carries within it the ghosts of others, silent companions lost in the chaos of formation. Yet the idea of multiple moons does not end in prehistory. Some researchers suggest Earth may have captured temporary satellites in the past, small asteroids trapped for years or centuries before being flung back into space. Even today, astronomers occasionally detect what they call mini-moons, small rocks that orbit Earth briefly before escaping. These transient moons are reminders that our planet's gravitational field is not a simple cage, but a dynamic gateway, constantly interacting with the cosmic debris that surrounds us. Who knows how many of these objects once lingered long enough to affect tides, climates, or even the trajectory of life? Myths and ancient stories may contain echoes of this forgotten lunar multiplicity. Cultures around the world record traditions of two suns or two moons in the sky. While often interpreted symbolically, it raises a tantalizing question. Could ancient peoples have witnessed unusual celestial events, such as a captured mini-moon glowing in Earth's sky, later encoded in myth? These accounts might not be literal observations, but they could reflect memories of skies that were not always as they are today. The influence of multiple moons on Earth would have been profound. Our present moon stabilizes Earth's axial tilt, keeping the climate relatively steady. Without it, Earth's seasons would swing chaotically, perhaps making the planet inhospitable to complex life. If other moons once orbited Earth, their combined gravitational pulls could have exaggerated or destabilized these effects. Imagine a world with stronger tides, with coastlines reshaped more violently, with life forced to adapt to rhythms far harsher than those we know. Each lost moon could have altered the evolutionary path in ways we may never fully reconstruct. There is also the question of collisions. If smaller moons once orbited Earth before merging with the larger moon, such events might have left scars. Some geologists suggest that the moon's far side, the mysterious hemisphere we never see, may bear the evidence of such collisions. The thicker crust there, compared to the near side, could be the result of impacts with smaller companion moons billions of years ago. If true, the moon itself is a palimpsest, its surface a layered record of forgotten siblings long since erased. The idea of lost moons also reshapes our view of Earth's place in cosmic history. If multiple moons were common in the past, then Earth was not the tranquil singular system we imagine. It was dynamic, shifting, and volatile, with satellites appearing and disappearing, leaving behind only traces in orbital mechanics and myth. This unsettles the image of stability we often project onto the heavens. It suggests instead that the Earth-Moon system, like all things in the cosmos, is the product of continuous change, chance, and adaptation. And the story may not be over. Some astronomers propose that Earth could capture another moon in the far future. As asteroids wander near our orbit, gravitational encounters could bind one into a temporary satellite, creating a new spectacle in the sky for future generations. The cycle of lost and found moons could continue, reminding us that what we take as permanent is often temporary on cosmic scales. Why does this matter? Because the moon has shaped not only our planet, but our imagination. Its phases guided calendars, its light illuminated myths, its rhythms defined rituals. If there were once other moons, then the story of humanity's cultural development might also be incomplete. The lost moons would not only have influenced oceans and climates, but also the way ancient eyes understood their place in the universe. In contemplating these lost companions, we confront the fragility of our assumptions. The moon is not eternal, not singular, and not immune to change. It is the survivor of a cosmic past filled with violence and instability, a reminder that what feels timeless is often only a snapshot in a much larger story. To imagine Earth under the gaze of multiple moons is to recognize that even the most familiar aspects of our world, the tides, the night sky, the stories we tell, are the result of experiments, trials, and erasures across billions of years. Perhaps the true legacy of the lost moons is the lesson they leave us, that permanence is an illusion, and that what we call home is shaped not by stability, but by the endless dance of creation and destruction. And as we look at the moon tonight, glowing with quiet familiarity, we may realize we are not only seeing a companion, but also the last survivor of a forgotten family of worlds. Astral alignments as messages across time. Across every corner of the ancient world, from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Peru, we find structures that seem to speak the same silent language, stone aligned with the stars. Pyramids, temples, stone circles, and vast earthworks were not placed randomly, but oriented with extraordinary precision toward celestial events. Equinoxes, solstices, lunar standstills, and even rare planetary conjunctions guided the placement of monuments that, thousands of years later, continue to baffle us. Were these alignments mere tools for tracking time, or were they messages, encrypted signals left for future generations, attempts to bridge the vast gulf of history with the unchanging language of the heavens? Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, a feat of engineering unmatched until the invention of modern surveying tools. More intriguingly, its shafts seem to point toward specific stars, Orion's Belt and Sirius, suggesting that it was built not only as a tomb or monument, but as a cosmic marker. At Stonehenge, the rising sun on the summer solstice shines directly through the heel stone, illuminating the heart of the circle. At Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, spiral petroglyphs track the movement of the sun and moon with such accuracy that they may have functioned as a prehistoric observatory. Each of these examples points to the same conclusion. Ancient builders were not only mapping the sky, they were encoding knowledge within architecture. What knowledge, though, were they trying to preserve? One possibility is that these alignments served as calendars, helping societies regulate agriculture, migrations, and rituals. The heavens provided a stable framework in a chaotic world, a way to predict the cycles of rain and drought, planting and harvest. But beyond the practical, there seems to be a deeper intent. Alignments toward constellations like Orion, the Pleiades, or the Milky Way appear across cultures separated by oceans and centuries. Could these recurring choices reflect more than coincidence? Could they be signals about a shared understanding of the cosmos, or even of a lost knowledge passed down from an earlier forgotten source? The notion of alignments as messages is reinforced by the durability of stone. Texts can burn, languages can fade, but a monument aligned with the stars endures as long as both monument and stars remain. This may explain why so many ancient cultures invested immense effort into building megalithic structures. They were not only places of worship or ritual, but time capsules designed to transcend generations. By orienting stone to the heavens, ancient builders may have been speaking across millennia, ensuring that even if their stories were lost, the sky itself would confirm their message. Another layer of mystery arises when we consider the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, which shifts the position of stars in the sky over thousands of years. Alignments that once matched perfectly now drift slightly out of sync. This raises a haunting possibility. Some monuments may have been designed with precession in mind, as if their builders knew that the heavens would change and wanted us to notice. If true, then the message was not only about their time, but about the passage of time itself, a cosmic reminder that nothing is fixed, not even the stars. Mythology often encodes these same alignments in symbolic form. The Egyptians linked Osiris to Orion, associating him with rebirth and continuity. The Mayans aligned their temples to Venus, integrating its cycles into their mythology of war and sacrifice. The Inca constructed Machu Picchu so that windows framed the solstices, weaving their agricultural and spiritual life into the cycles of the sun. These examples suggest that alignments were not just astronomical markers, but part of a symbolic dialogue between humanity and the cosmos, a dialogue that sought to reveal meaning in the very structure of the universe. From a speculative perspective, some propose that astral alignments might even carry information from civilizations older than the ones we know. If a culture wished to communicate across tens of thousands of years, what medium could they choose? Words erode, artifacts decay, but stars endure. Alignments, therefore, may be a universal language, a code that any future intelligence capable of astronomy would eventually decode. The fact that we are asking these questions today may indicate that the message is still being received, even if its full meaning remains elusive. There is also the unsettling idea that these alignments might have been intended not for us, but for others. If extraterrestrial intelligences exist, then perhaps monuments aligned to specific stars were signals pointing outward, invitations or markers that Earth was inhabited by beings aware of the cosmos. The pyramids, the Nazca lines, the great megaliths. Could they have been both earthly observatories and cosmic beacons, designed to show we were participants in the wider universe? Astral alignments remind us that the sky is more than backdrop. It is a mirror, a clock, and perhaps a canvas upon which humanity has always tried to write its place in existence. To stand before an ancient monument, to watch the sun rise exactly through a stone gateway, is to realize that someone thousands of years ago watched the same event with awe and intention. It collapses time, binding us to them in a shared act of cosmic recognition. Perhaps this is the ultimate message, that no matter how civilizations rise or fall, the stars remain, and through them, knowledge can endure. Alignments are not only tools of measurement, they are whispers across ages, messages carved in stone and sky, waiting for those willing to look up and listen. The forgotten moons in myth and science. When we think of Earth's moon, it feels singular, unique, a silent companion whose presence has guided humanity for millennia. Yet myths, scientific theories, and geological evidence hint at something far more complex. That the moon we see today may not be the only one Earth has ever known. Whispers of forgotten moons, some imagined, some real, echo across ancient stories and modern science alike, suggesting that our planet's history is not the story of one eternal satellite, but of a shifting cast of lunar companions, some long vanished, others still lingering in memory. In mythology, references to multiple moons appear more often than we might expect. Ancient Mesopotamian texts describe celestial bodies that shone briefly before vanishing, sometimes linked with omens of change. In Mesoamerican traditions, dual lunar figures appear, often representing cycles of destruction and rebirth. Even in Greek myth, Selene, the goddess of the moon, is occasionally spoken of in terms that suggest multiplicity, different phases personified as distinct entities, each carrying its own will. These myths, though symbolic, may reflect deeper truths, that the night sky, at certain points in history, may not have looked as it does today. Science lends weight to these possibilities. Simulations of the giant impact that formed the moon suggest that the collision between Earth and Theia could have produced not just one moon, but several smaller satellites. Over time, gravitational interactions would have caused these bodies to merge or be ejected, leaving us with the single large moon we now see. Some planetary scientists propose that remnants of these lost moons may still be detectable in the moon's crust or in irregularities in its orbit. In fact, the unusual thickness of the moon's far-side crust has been interpreted by some as evidence of a past collision with a smaller, now absorbed companion. But the story doesn't end in deep prehistory. Earth is still capable of capturing mini-moons, small asteroids that become temporary satellites before breaking free again. One such object, 2006, RH-120, orbited Earth between 2006 and 2007 before returning to solar orbit. More recently, in 2020, astronomers detected another small body, 2020 CD3, bound to Earth for a short time. These fleeting moons remind us that the Earth-Moon system is not as fixed as it seems. Our skies across millennia may well have hosted more companions than we realize. If so, the implications for life are profound. The moon stabilizes Earth's axial tilt, creating a relatively stable climate. Without it, the planet's seasons might swing wildly, perhaps too erratically for complex life to flourish. Additional moons could have either enhanced or destabilized this effect, amplifying tides, altering day lengths, and reshaping climates. It is not difficult to imagine entire evolutionary trajectories changing because of the presence or disappearance of a second moon. Life on Earth, and even human civilization itself, may be partly the result of a delicate lunar balance that has not always been constant. Forgotten moons also leave their imprint in cultural memory. The Dogon people of Mali, for example, describe celestial companions of stars with surprising accuracy, raising questions about how ancient societies perceived and encoded astronomical knowledge. While these accounts are controversial, they hint at a recurring theme. Human beings, across cultures, retained memory of a sky more dynamic than the one we take for granted. Whether inspired by real celestial events or symbolic imagination, these stories blur the line between myth and science, hinting at truths hidden in plain sight. The scientific exploration of moons beyond Earth further enriches this mystery. Many planets in our solar system host multiple satellites: Jupiter with its 95 moons, Saturn with its 146, even Mars with 2 small companions, Phobos and Deimos. In such a context, Earth having only one seems less like a rule and more like an anomaly. Why should Earth be the exception? Could it be that we are living in a rare moment of simplicity, a snapshot in time when Earth has only one moon, but not necessarily the only chapter in a longer lunar story? This raises one more possibility: that some of Earth's forgotten moons were destroyed entirely. Cosmic collisions, orbital instability, or tidal disruption could have shattered them into fragments, now indistinguishable from the countless asteroids that drift through the solar system. If so, their existence would be nearly impossible to confirm, yet their influence may remain embedded in Earth's geology and biological history. The tides of ancient seas, the rhythms of early life, the rise and fall of climates, all may bear the fingerprints of lunar companions long gone. The notion of forgotten moons invites us to reconsider the permanence of what seems most stable. We take comfort in the constancy of the moon's glow, but history suggests that even this steadfast light may be only temporary, the survivor of countless experiments, the last sentinel of a sky once more crowded. Our ancestors may have looked up and seen skies subtly different from ours, moons that shone and then vanished, leaving behind only myths, stories, and mysteries we are still trying to decode. In the end, the forgotten moons remind us that even the most familiar truths are fragile. The moon we know is not eternal. It is the result of cosmic accidents, mergers, and erasures. Perhaps one day, Earth will gain or lose another moon, reshaping our world once again. Until then, as we gaze at the solitary orb above us, we might wonder, how many others once shared its place, and how different would our story have been if they had remained? The moons that never were. Hypothetical satellites and cosmic what-ifs. Not all moons that shape Earth's story have existed in reality. Some live only in the realm of hypothesis, phantom satellites imagined by astronomers, scientists, or storytellers who tried to explain the mysteries of the sky. These moons that never were occupy a strange space between science and speculation, teaching us as much about human imagination as they do about the cosmos itself. By exploring them, we uncover not only what might have been, but also what still could be, for the universe is rich in possibilities that defy our expectations. One of the most intriguing examples is the hypothetical second moon of Earth, a concept that has appeared repeatedly throughout history. In the 19th century, astronomers claimed to have detected small satellites orbiting our planet, sightings often explained later as misidentified stars or optical illusions. Yet the idea persisted. What if Earth had more than one permanent companion? Such a configuration could have dramatically altered our world. Stronger tides, chaotic orbital resonances, and more extreme climates would have reshaped the trajectory of life. Some scientists even suggest that in Earth's early history, smaller moons formed alongside the current moon, but either collided with it or escaped into space. A reminder that the line between hypothetical and real is thinner than it seems. Then there are the mysterious claims of dark moons, invisible companions hidden from sight. In the early 20th century, a French astronomer named Frédéric Petit argued that Earth had a second, faint moon with an irregular orbit, one that could not be easily observed. His ideas were eventually discredited, but they reveal something fascinating about human thought. Whenever the known feels insufficient, we imagine what else could exist just beyond our reach. The persistence of these stories suggests that the very idea of multiple moons resonates deeply with us, perhaps because it feels natural in a solar system where so many planets have many satellites. Modern science has introduced its own set of what-ifs. Some theories explore the possibility of co-orbital objects, bodies that share Earth's orbit around the Sun, trailing ahead or behind us. These are not moons in the traditional sense, but in practical terms, they behave like silent companions. A few such objects have been discovered, locked into orbital resonances with our planet. Could future generations classify them as moons? If so, then the distinction between myth and reality becomes even blurrier, for the idea of additional Earth companions is not entirely unfounded. The notion of hypothetical moons also extends to science fiction and speculative cosmology. Writers have imagined twin moons casting double shadows, shaping mythologies of duality and balance. Others envision moons with strange properties, metallic cores that act as natural beacons, or hollow interiors serving as ancient constructs. While these belong to the realm of imagination, they mirror a deeper truth. Our fascination with moons is not just about science, but about meaning. They serve as symbols of mystery, change, and the unseen forces that shape our existence. Yet these moons that never were also carry a warning. If Earth had possessed additional moons in stable orbits, the gravitational chaos could have been catastrophic. The tides might have surged too violently for life to stabilize along coasts. The tilt of Earth's axis might have wobbled uncontrollably, producing climate swings too harsh for complex organisms to evolve. In other words, the absence of these moons may be precisely why we are here at all. What never existed may have been as crucial to our survival as what did. Still, the possibility of future moons lingers. Earth continues to capture temporary satellites, asteroids that orbit for a few years before drifting away. With advances in technology, humans might one day stabilize one of these mini-moons, intentionally giving Earth a second satellite. If this happens, myths of two moons might shift from fantasy to reality. The night sky would change forever, and with it, the tides, the calendars, and perhaps even our sense of identity. There is also the haunting idea that we may not be able to distinguish entirely between moons that never were and moons that truly existed but vanished. Ancient myths of twin moons, or scientific claims of lost satellites, may not be wholly incorrect, but fragments of a truth distorted across time. The boundary between memory, imagination, and science is porous, and in that porousness lies a deeper mystery. How much of what we dismiss as fantasy is actually the echo of forgotten realities? In contemplating the moons that never were, we are reminded that the universe is shaped not only by what exists, but also by what could exist. Hypothetical satellites push us to imagine the alternate paths Earth might have taken, the different skies under which life might have evolved. They teach us humility, for even in their absence, they shape our understanding of possibility. Perhaps the greatest lesson is that absence itself has meaning. The moons we never had are as important as the one we do, for they remind us that the cosmos is not a finished story, but an unfolding experiment, full of paths not taken and worlds that might yet come to be. And in that experiment, imagination is not a distraction. It is a tool, guiding us toward questions the universe has not yet answered. Celestial catastrophes and the fate of moons. We began this journey looking at the skies of ancient civilizations, following the silent architects who built monuments aligned with stars and moons. We walked through forgotten myths, theories of lost companions in Earth's orbit, and the possibility that our moon itself is only a fragile survivor in a universe where destruction and renewal are the rule, not the exception. And now, as we stand at the edge of this exploration, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The cosmos is not static. It is alive with cycles of birth and death, of creation and collapse. Moons are born, shattered, and remade. Civilizations rise, fall, and leave only whispers in stone. Even stars, the great beacons of the heavens, burn out and pass their elements on to future worlds. Nothing endures unchanged, and yet, everything participates in a continuity greater than itself. The moon that lights our nights is not eternal. One day, it will leave us, whether by drifting away into the void, by destruction, or by the dying breath of the sun. And yet, for now, it shapes the tides, the rhythms of life, the very stability of our world. Its presence has been a silent partner in the story of Earth, influencing not only the planet's environment, but the imagination of humankind. From ancient rituals to modern science, the moon has guided us. That alone is extraordinary, that a fragile celestial body could play such a profound role in shaping who we are. But the deeper mystery is not only about the moon. It is about what it reveals of the universe itself. The same forces that bind it to us, gravity, time, chance, catastrophe, govern all worlds. For every stable orbit, there are countless destroyed. For every survivor, there are countless lost. To live in such a universe is to accept that we are not spectators, but participants in its experiment. Our story, like the moon's, is a test of resilience, adaptation, and meaning in the face of impermanence. And this is where the reflection becomes personal. What do we do with this awareness? Do we treat life as an accident to be consumed without thought? Or do we live as if every action, every decision, every creation adds something meaningful to the great experiment? If the universe is watching, whether through natural law or through intelligences we cannot perceive, what will our story say of us? That we squandered the chance to learn, to grow, to cooperate? Or that we became aware of the fragile gift we hold and chose to use it wisely? The myths of lost moons, the ruins of forgotten civilizations, the cycles of collapse and renewal, all of them whisper the same truth. Nothing is permanent. And yet, in that impermanence lies freedom. Freedom to act, to create, to leave behind a legacy that echoes beyond our brief time. The moon reminds us every night that even in the darkness there is light. Even in the inevitability of loss, there is the possibility of meaning. So this is the moment when I ask you not only to stay curious, but to act. Not just with a click, but with a choice. If you've come this far, if you followed this journey until the end, then you are already part of a community that dares to question, to imagine, to search for meaning in a universe of mysteries. Subscribe not simply to a channel, but to the pursuit of knowledge. Share, not merely a video, but a spark of curiosity that might awaken others. Stay until the end, not because the answers are simple, but because the questions are worth asking. Here, we explore what others overlook. We connect myths with science, memory with speculation, the past with the future. And each time you return, each time you lend your attention, you affirm that you too are unwilling to look away from the mystery, that you refuse to settle for easy explanations when the universe itself calls us to wonder. Finally, remember this: the moon above you tonight is not guaranteed to last forever, but your choice to see it, to reflect on it, and to carry its mystery within you, that is eternal. Let us continue this search together. Subscribe, share, and keep watching. Because the greatest experiment of all is not only written in the heavens, it is written in us.